Hey folks, I wanted to look at a bug that a number of people were running into with the using the bluefruit as a keyboard. Um, I had looked at before how if you wanted to use the uh, bluefruit as a keyboard over USB, you needed to use this tiny USB library, and you had to construct this kind of bizarre um, keyboard report to send control keyboard commands to the computer over USB. Um, the problem people were having with the bluefruit was trying to send things like the left, right, up, down arrow keys or the enter key or keys that you couldn't type out in this way. So the key press method works if you're sending a single character that you can type. But if you're trying to send a character that you can't put between single quotes, like an arrow key, it doesn't work. And using these command words by themselves won't work in key press either. It'll kind of create random characters. So you kind of have to combine both of these things into one. It's absolutely possible. It's just a couple more steps. Um, and so I'll walk you through this one as quickly as I can. These codes for the keys are coming from the same place. They're coming from the tiny USB um, library, and in fact, the bluefruit library inherits the tiny USB library. So by including the bluefruit library, you are including tiny USB as well. So we don't need to add another library. Setup is the same. I added, to my last time doing this demo, I added pin 5 and 7, the other button in the switch, just to help me with debugging and testing things. And then another thing I did to help with debugging this was I put in a bunch of serial prints here. So I'm printing the bluefruit connection status, the switch status, and then which button is being pressed, just so I could see in the serial monitor what was going on, which helps me figure out what the problem is, especially when I'm doing something with a keyboard commands where it can be hard to tell, if and what is going on. My button 4 is the same. The only thing I added was an and digital read 7, which is the switch, right? So one of the things I noticed with people using the bluefruit 2 or as the keyboard is not having an easy way to turn it off, which can make it really challenging to like change the code or upload new code or stop it if it's like spamming out a key press. So only letting it do key presses when the switch is switched is a helpful way to mitigate some of that. Otherwise, this is the same. Then I'm using the other button 5 to do my test here. So I'm saying if that button is pressed, if the blue fruit is connected, and if the switch is switched, then just like I did with the tiny USB keyboard, I'm going to generate this keyboard report. So I'm going to say my report ID is 0, my modifier is 0. I'm going to make this array of key codes. And then I'm going to specifically say key code 0, which is the first item in this array, is going to be my HID key enter, or it could be HID key arrow left or key arrow right, etc. That's where I can get from this website my HID key. Then I'm going to send that keyboard report with its ID, modifier, and the key code array. I'm going to wait my debounce time, and then I'm going to release. And then here's where I'm printing out the button number to show that I've printed that button. Everything else is the same. So let's look at what this does when we upload it. Okay. So I'm going to look at the serial monitor first, and you can see, so it's saying my bluefruit is connected, the switch is off, and so no buttons are pressed. So now if I press any of the buttons, nothing happens because that switch is off. If I turned off my Bluetooth, then the bluefruit would show that it's disconnected. If I turn the Bluetooth back on, it will reconnect to this. Okay, so that works. If I switch the switch, now you can see the switch is on, and so now I can see, I can press my button, and it's reading this very fast, so you can't see the button number that you saw. The cat, it typed the cat there. So let me go back to this text editor, and we can see when I press that one button, the cat and the mouse move works, right? So that's what I had before here. So then the other button now, if I press, it gives me an enter. Sometimes it's giving me 2 enters, so I might want to increase my debounce a little bit, so I don't get those 2 enters. That's all I would need to do to slow that down a little bit. But otherwise, that's it. Again, I can change that to any of my other commands. So if you want to do the arrow keys, the enter key, any other key that you can't type out like this, with the bluefruit as a Bluetooth keyboard, you have to use the tiny USB formatting. Otherwise, you can use this more simplified formatting. Hope that helps.